And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Live. I am Steve Leahy. Hopefully, you're doing great. Do I have the mic on? I think I do. I want to make sure. How's it going? Hopefully, everyone's doing great. Um, yeah, we have a fun one today. I was kind of scrambling around, and I need to kind of get this dollar bill painting done. So I was looking at it and where we're at with it. I thought it would be a great painting to talk about a few cool things that you guys don't usually see with these paintings. So that's what's on the list for tonight. I don't have any real other items. I do have some questions. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Yes, I did do that. I did have some questions that I didn't get to last week that I saw during the my rerun, or as I looked at the live feed from last week. So I will address those as we go too. What else do I got? That's all I got. So yeah, we'll look at some new paintings. I got 3 new ones, 2 old ones, a new one. But yeah, we'll figure it out. It's all good. It's all good. I'll say hello to everyone. You guys are all streaming in. I love it. Let me able to say hi. There we go. Did you also all notice, if you were here, I spelled subtlety wrong on the title screen. So that's what happens. Speed kills. So I don't know about that. I don't know what I was doing there, but whatever. That's fine. Everything's fine. All right, let me jump to this one. And I will see what we got going on there. I don't know why I can't see that. I don't know. Well, technology's blast. I'll say hi over here. Dan Mayer, what's up? Good evening, honey. Hello, Ian. Rick Lotta. Rick Lotta, your win is on the way. So hopefully the Postal Service will get it there in time. I know you guys are having some postal issues, but it is on its way. Brian Moore, what's up, buddy? Brian, that's cool. I'm glad you're here. Michael McClung, what's up? I'm glad I got to catch you live this weekend, Michael McClung. Mr. Parsons, good morning. Grumpy, what's up, buddy? Yay. All right. All right. Let me show you guys some new paintings. Well, I got 3 new ones. What I did was I took the 2 from last week that I didn't get to do, and I did those. And then I added 1 to it. So that's what we got. But first, I'd love to be able to see. Why is this working? Why are things broke? De-broke? I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out. It always ends up being okay, but for the beginning, it's always weird how it's not helping me out much. Anyway, I don't know. I also think it's funny right now. I have uploaded 666 videos, so I think that means my channel is a beast now. All right, a couple quick questions about last week that I didn't get to. First one is, here is the penny. I did not do any more on this except for clear it, because I'm going to finish that up, and a lot of the stuff is with a microscope. I don't know that I'll be able to actually do the microscope thing with you guys, but if I can, I will. Let me move it over to here so maybe you guys can see it. Sorry, I picked up a cold in the large airborne metal incubator tube coming back from Los Angeles, but I got it checked out today and it's just a cold, so that's good. So yeah, so that's how it looks. If you look at the front of the jet or the plane, it's very fuzzy, so that's something I have to fix, but all that stuff is going to happen under the microscope. But that's what the clear is. That's Autoborn 6000, which that brings me to my first question with Michael. Michael McClung asked last week if you can sand and buff 6000. Michael, that's an excellent question. I've never tried. It's not a 2K clear, so you're going to have to mess with it. With your experience, though, you might really be able to do some cool things with it. It's just going to take a little bit of, kind of figuring out and messing with. But I do know that when Chris Arpin was with Createx, he took their waterborne clear and the high gloss 4050, and he buffed and polished that on a guitar, and it looked amazing. So yeah, let me know how that works out. The other question, great question, was from Honey Rivera about the penny. and she had asked if the prep on this is any different because it's copper. That's the beauty of all the Autoborn sealers. They stick to everything. So no, the quick answer is well, actually I use 6,000 on this, but it's the same kind of deal. There is no difference in prep between metal, copper, aluminum, steel, whatever. It's all the same, which is great. And finally, the last question was from David Fiore. And David asked what my air pressure was for this. It's the same for pretty much everything I do, no matter how big or small it is. And that's usually between 35 and 45, depending on what's going on. Patty C, what's up? Hello. Bill Snagan, what's going on, buddy? Yay, you guys are awesome. So there you go. So I'm looking at questions. I lost that. So that's it. So that's how that worked. Also, here is, again, I showed this last week. This is what the frame is going to look like. This is a reclaimed redwood frame from my buddy Mike Stevenson, who he and his dad had reclaimed a bunch of redwood from a old water tower that was being ripped down. They were just going to get rid of all the wood, so these guys took it all, which was amazing. But that's going to be the frame for this, and then this is going to be a lot more forward in the frame. And then down the bottom, I'm going to write a little inscription about 1947 and breaking the sound barrier, and that's how that's going to work. So there you go. All right. So that's that. Since I'm thinking of it too, I'll jump back to this one real quick. A huge, huge thank you to the people who gave super thanks last week, which was your friend and mine, Bug, Miss Honey, Max Thrasher, Michael McClung, and David Fiore. Thank you so much for that. That's huge. All right. Now, back to that. And can he get comments over here, which would be lovely. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do that and that. I don't know. And that. And that. I don't know why it's not working. I'm going to keep crying about it till it works. I don't know why it's not showing up. No. Now. It's weird. My live isn't showing up over here. I mean, it's right there. I don't know. I got comments over here though, so I'll keep looking over here. If I miss you because things are so goofy, I'm sorry. Brother Robert, how's it going, buddy? Yay. Kelly Drake, what's up? Awesome. Oh, thank you, Bug. You're awesome. Yes, if I can't click that because yes I can. I gotta get comments up, but I'll work on that as we go. Let's get to business. We have a lot to do. All right, so there's my thank yous. Thank you. Tonight we have 10 people on the list to win a painting, so your chance to win is 10%, which is great. So if you'd like to win a painting, I put a little pinned post on how you could do that. It's really, really simple. You just type 543 and give me a suggestion for one of these cool little black and white paintings that we do. But first, Brian Moore is here, which is awesome because the first suggestion comes from Brian Moore, which is great. Brian Moore asked for an atom. So this is what I got. I had a lot of fun with this one. Hopefully you can see this one. I got a little bit of a story with it. Let me refocus here. There we go. So what you have here is a hydrogen atom, one proton and one electron. The idea about an atom, or us first discovering atoms as humans, came with Ernest Rutherford. He is considered the father of nuclear physics. So Ernest developed the idea of the atom, this central nucleus that's surrounded. What are you guys doing over there? Hold on one second. Ah, thank you, honey. Thank you, Brian. You guys are awesome. I got comments over there so I can see that faster. Yeah. All right, I'm going to close everything out. Anyway, so back to the atom. So the idea was you have this little center, the nucleus, and then you had an electron or a particle that would spin around the outside, and that's what made up this particle. And in hydrogen's case, it was one of each. So it's pretty simple and straight ahead. The problem with this was that Ernest used classical mechanics to kind of describe this. And what classical mechanics would say was if you have one object orbiting another one, eventually that outer object would slow down and then crash into the center. But Obviously, that doesn't happen. So there was a problem with Ernest's Rutherford's kind of description of what was going on there. And then came Mr. Bohr. So Bohr was a Danish physicist who realized that this problem needed to be overcome. And he also knew that at the same time that scientists were looking at the way light is viewed, and you can actually look at light in a way of the way that the different areas of visible light are absorbed or reflected, and this became spectrometry, which is used all the time now. What would happen was when you look at certain elements, certain bands would be left out of them. So picture a rainbow, but with lines left out of it. And each element had a specific set of lines that were left out. So Bohr took that and said, okay, something's going on with the atom to have that happen. And what Bohr found was when this little electron dude moved, it was actually moving between orbits. So picture this now having multiple orbits, like anywhere up to 7. What would happen was as the electron gained energy from, say, having light hit it, it would get energized and it would move to an outer rim. And when it did that, it collected energy and then absorbed that particular bit of the spectrum. And then when it lost that energy, it would then release that energy. So that's where these little spectral lines was. So when Bohr figured out that these little electrons were moving along these little different tracks inside, it solved the problem, but it also allowed scientists to understand what these elements look like when you're looking at their spectrometry band. And it revolutionized everything. It became the Bohr model of the atom. And it introduced quantum mechanics, because this whole idea of these little guys moving back and forth gave us the basis of quantum mechanics. So there's your super long story. This painting was a blast to do because I want to do the hydrogen atom, but I also kind of wanted to show that little electron giving off its red glow as it moved, and so that's what it is. So hopefully you can see it. There's a little trail as it kind of loses its energy and then glows. So that's my Bohr model. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that because I nerded out totally on that one. I had a blast with that one. So good job, Brian, on that one. And I just call that one Bohr's hydrogen. So if you're one of the 10 and you win tonight, you can choose one of these. I'm going to try to figure this out again while we're hanging out. Well, I don't know why. I'm going to whine, and it's not going to be pretty. Anyway, all right. All right, so I'm going to miss all your comments, basically. Chris Garcia, what's up? Hello. Kyle Shees, what's going on? Congratulations on your 5K. That's amazing, dude. Wayne Capiroso, what's up, buddy? I'm going to put loves next to these hearts while I'm here. You guys are amazing. Who else did I miss? You guys are great. You guys are great. You guys are great. You guys are great. All right. I need to make a new moderator. I don't know. I'll do Bob. I'll do Brian. Brian, you are our moderator for tonight. Again, Brian, don't feel like you have to hang around. I know you got a lot going on, but if you would like to be moderator, that's awesome. All right. Next up is Gary Shees. So Gary had one that I think I might have screwed up, but I took a chance, and this is what I came out with. So last week, I wrote down that Gary asked for an AAR Cougar, which what I ended up doing was the AAR CUDA, which is the Barracuda. I hope I got this right, because the AAR Cougar, when you look it up, comes up as the Eliminator, which was made in 1970 as well. It's obviously a totally different car, but I took a chance on the AAR part and I went with the CUDA. So this car was introduced or produced in 1970 as a tribute to Dan Gurney's All-American Racers. The track version of this car had an amazing 440 horsepower with a 305 motor. Only 2,724 of these were built. And the street version rated in about 290 horsepower, which was very adequate. The current auction price of this car is around 79 grand. It's a pretty car. And they always have like super crazy bold colors like orange and green. And got these matte black graphics on them. And you can't see it on mine because it's way out the back, but there's an AAR logo on the back as well. So this is my AAR CUDA. And hopefully that's what Gary was looking for. If not, I'll end up doing Eliminator at some point. Anyway, the 1970 Cougar Eliminator was a great car too. So that's the other one. That's what we got for that one. And that one's made up of totally of hydrogen atoms, just so you know. All right. Michael McClung, thank you, buddy. You're awesome. Gary. Oh, it was the CUDA. Thank God, because sometimes I screw up, believe it or not. Happens more times than I like to think. Okay, so what am I thinking? Okay, so the Atom was from 2 weeks ago. That was Brian's. The CUDA was from last week, so that's the other one. So here's the other one from 2 weeks ago, and this came to us from Sean. Excuse me, Sean. I'm going to butcher your name. If you jump on or can send me a message on how to pronounce your last name properly. Shiro, maybe. But Sean last week or 2 weeks ago asked for a lighthouse, or 3 weeks ago actually, asked for a lighthouse. And this is what I came out with. So if you're a member here, you've seen this on the time lapse. If you'd like to see me do this painting from scratch, it will be on the time lapse tomorrow on YouTube, so you can watch it at 10 a.m. And like I said, if you want to get it early or get these paintings early, you can become a member here. And Rick Lotta, thank you so much. Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much. So here is my lighthouse. Now this little painting may look familiar if you know my work. I have another painting just like this. In fact, I use the same reference photo, but it's vertically oriented. And that one's called Thankful. This is the Nubble Lighthouse in Maine, also called the Cape Nettic Light Station. This lighthouse was built in 1847 after a large number of shipwrecks right off the coast of Maine. And if you know Maine or that whole northeast coast all the way up through Nova Scotia, you get a lot of this, the real rocky coast, and it's beautiful. It's not swimming beach, but it's definitely beautiful. So a lot of ships went down, most notably the Isidore. Had wrecked there, killing all the sailors on board. In fact, the Isidore is said to be seen as a ghost ship around this area. Never seen it, but still. It became the last lighthouse in North America to be automated. Excuse me, in 1987. And the fun fact of the Nubble Lighthouse is that Voyager 2, when it took off for the outer reaches of the galaxy, or solar system, eventually galaxy in about 1 billion years. Voyager 2 has a bunch of photos on board that depict life on Earth, and one of them is the Nubble Lighthouse, which is kind of cool. So there is your Nubble Lighthouse, and I just call this Nubble Light. I love this lighthouse, and this was a fun painting to do. So if you want to see how to get quick painting like this done in about 2 hours, the time lapse is for you tomorrow. All right. I got everything? I got everything. Stunning. Oh boy, oh boy. How is everyone doing tonight? I hope really well. What's going on over there? Oh, Rick Lotta, you're awesome. Thank you again. Put a big fat heart on that one. You guys are great. Oh, thanks, Michael. Yeah, it's a fun painting because there's a lot of like texture and scratching, but a lot of it is implied, which you'd think I don't do a lot with the type of work I do, but I do love it. I love doing that kind of stuff. Alrighty then. So if you win tonight, you can grab one of those, or you can grab one on the site. I can do a bunch of maintenance on the site because a lot of the paintings that have already been either sold or won are still on the site. The ones that are sold will say out of stock, so that's good. But the ones that are given away, if I haven't taken them off the site, it still reads available. So I got to do a lot of homework on that or clean up. All right, let's get to it. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to work on this with you a little bit. Oh, that sucks. I'll tell you what sucks. Let me bring it down to here. That scratch right there sucks. That blows. I don't know how that happened. I've been really careful with this, but apparently not that careful. It's not, it's not a huge major deal. It's just something that's got to be fixed. And I hate working backwards. Now, the other side of that is like the penny. So when I was done with the penny, I hit it with 6,000 to just kind of keep it safe. You would ask, well, can't you do the same thing here? Spray the whole background or whatever. If you get too much buildup by continuously spraying the 6,000, I worry about that. You know what I mean? I'd want to keep as minimal layers as I can. And, so I do that, kind of protection clear, like on the Tokyo painting here. If I tilt this, you can see the bottom is real shiny, but then when I tilt it up, it's like, matte colored, or it's like not shiny, because that's all the raw paint. That's got clear on it. So that's specifically done so I don't damage this painting like I did, the other one. So you could do that, but I don't want too many layers of that. Like, paint a little bit and clear it. I don't want to do that every time. So yeah, that's that. That's how that goes. All right, what's this? I'm going to grab this because I need this, and I'm going to get in the way there for a second. We need a reference photo, so I'm going to set that up. What I'm doing here is this. That's my beautiful daughter. That's not what I want, though. For today, I want dollar bills. You can't really see it, but it's over here. So this is how I usually work. I'll have the little tablet that I can really zoom in on while I'm working. And it obviously gives me a different color, so I got to take that into consideration as I do this. So I usually have a photo that I printed out, which is I'm not going to pull out right now, but I have that as well. So between the two, I can look at the color, but here it will give me all the details. So that usually just kind of sits on the side here. And I have these cool little wooden dowels that I use. And what those do is those just like lift it up to where it needs to be, because normally this would stick right to the Visionaire because it's got a magnet on the back. But this piece of PVC won't allow the magnets to stick, so I got to kind of be sneaky about it and not sneaky about it. All right, so that's what you need to know there. And you guys are going to be here. So what we're talking about with this today is I've got a lot of this almost finished. But there's something off about this. And this is where the rubber hits the road with these paintings. If you looked at this area and I told you it was done, there'd be an argument for that. Make sure this is totally focused, because you're going to need to see this. And since I'm over here, I'll say hi to everyone. Donna, what's up, the lovely Donna? Yay. Look at all you guys. You guys are awesome. Okay. Again, if I told you this was done, there's an argument for that. However, there's a difference between this and what is really going on, what I want to tell about this story. And what that is all in subtlety. It's the little things that make the big difference. You would think it's the details, and those do help a lot with the story, but it's really the real subtle things that we're going to change about this that will really help pull this along. And that's what we're going to do tonight. And it'll be nice because we'll get a bunch of this done. And, it's not that, crazy. Like I said, it's subtle. The way I like to describe it, I think I've done it before in a feed. With subtlety, it's like when you whisper to someone, that has a much bigger impact on someone than if you're screaming at them, It's like they feel it, you know what I mean? It's like you have to pay attention to it. The owl and dollar bill. Yes, that's awesome. You guys are great. You guys are great. All right. Again, I'm sorry I'm missing comments. I'll have to figure out that, why I can't. You know what? Give me 2 seconds. Look at that painting for a second while I actually try to figure this out, because this should not be like this. I should be able to see my own damn feed. I would say maybe I'm not live, but you guys are all here, so apparently I'm here. Oh, Maybe I'm not looking in the right spot. I mean, you know. I don't know. It's totally weird. Oh. I had to go through like 12,000 pages, but I found it. That's stupid. That's not me being, technologically legally challenged. That's just dumb. Anyway, now I can see you guys. Paper boat in the water. Yay. Okay, great. And of course, remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines, says YouTube in the chat. All right. Let me show you some stuff here. So we're going to start with this area right here. This I kind of hit with you guys way back originally. I'm going to sneeze right now, so I'm going to put you on mute. No, I'm not. Oh, boy. I'm falling apart. It's okay, though. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. I went to the doctors. The doctor said it was fine. So I did the green part with you guys. There's green and there's black, and yet there's something missing here. And it, like I said, here we go with the subtlety. So what's subtly missing is a little bit of the texture, a little bit of change in color, and these things that will make this not just an illustration, but really feel like you're there. And so the way I analyze that, Natesh, what's up? Yeah, there you go with your 543. Welcome. That's awesome. Yeah, Chris Garcia, what's up, buddy? Self-portrait of a runny nose. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. I'm going to open my beverage for tonight, though. All right. So what I'm going to start with this is what I do is I look at, I'll show you the photo because I can't really show you the other. But what I want to show you is, see how like there's a little bit more black in some of the areas. It's a little bit darker in those areas. Do you also see the texture right along this bill from the pulp of the paper? I know it's difficult to see on this copy, but like I said, it's really there. And then the other thing too is there's this overall yellow, and that yellow is reflected light from the desk. It doesn't happen here because it's at a different angle, but that really makes a big difference. I have some of that here, but I really need to push that to give that its reality. It makes me feel like you're there. That's what we want. Who hit the sneeze button? No kidding, Bob. Oh my God. Let's use, I think I'm going to use an airbrush for that to start. Now, normally again, the way I make a decision on whether I'm going to use an airbrush or a paintbrush at this stage is what I want to get out of it. Subtlety usually means airbrush for me. I just have, I have more comfort with the airbrush, so that allows me to kind of pull stuff off in a little bit different way than I could with a paintbrush. But again, if I looked at that and said, yeah, that needs to be tightened up a little bit, then that to me says paintbrush. You know what I mean? Yeah, could I tighten it up with the airbrush? Yeah, I could, but like I said, immediately in my head, it means airbrush. All right. Baked apple pie. Chris, that sounds really good. I have a lemon shandy. I know, right? It's summertime, and the living is easy. So I went with a lemon shandy to kind of go with something lighter when I have my cold today. So I'm going to start with black in the airbrush. This is mixed really, really thinly. It's 1 part paint to 10 parts reducer. I have been using the new Createx reducer. I'm still kind of figuring it out. Meaning, like, I had the 4011 dialed in, so for me, it's like I don't know. I had a lot of problems solved already with the reducer, so for me, this is like kind of taking a step back in a way because I have to relearn it, but it's working. Try to see the comments. I can't. All right, I'm gonna get to work. So let's start with that. So I'm going to start with the airbrush and see what it does. Mostly these little... Are you guys close enough? Do you guys want to get really, really close? That'd probably be better because we're going to be right in there. So let me switch out to this so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to take El Camera O and move it like this. Yeah. Yeah. This. So there's the camera. We'll get you guys super close. Let's try this. It's funny, when I set up for the feed tonight, I'm like, I'll be doing the dollar bills. I'll leave the camera way back. We'll have a good time. Well, this is how it goes. Like, what'll happen is I'll decide on doing one area, and then it just makes more sense to get closer. So, and boy, are you guys going to be close. So that's where we're at. So camera, and then that's where we're at. And that looks like that. You guys are going to need more light there. Now you'll be able to see what's going on. Patricia, what is up? All right. All right, so I'm going to kind of... Oh, now I can do this. So I can see what I'm doing. That's nice. All right, good. Oh, actually, see, now looking at this, and this is what I'm talking about. This is where it happens. This is going to need more green. It's going to need more of an olive green than what you can see there. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's start with the black and see what goes on here. Again, this is kind of a trial by fire type of thing. Like, I start messing with it, and when you get into this subtle stuff, you do a little bit, and then look to see where you're at, and is it, you know, ask yourself, is it working? Is it not working? Is it giving me what I want? And you know, it's not like a broad kind of immediate thing that you do and it takes over. So what I do is I do a little bit of it like this, and then I sit back and take a look at everything and make sure that it's going the way I want. That green is really cool. All right. It is, but we're going to have to change gears pretty fast here. So the same thing underneath the S here. Get you guys a little bit lower so you can see the whole thing. Underneath the S is nice, but it's not quite there. So we're going to mess with that. But also overall, like let me see if I can point this out here. Like this green here, this is almost like a neon green. So that's not going to work for the end of the painting. And that's what we're talking about, the subtlety. And when we backed up, you know, looking at that, it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, it looks like a green dollar bill or whatever. But when we're done with this section, it's going to have, you know, a lot more life to it. Plus it becomes more complex too. Who else did I miss? If I missed you, say hello again. Hello. Can I do that too? Yeah, probably. We're probably going to need this too. So you know what? I'll wait to turn it on. But what I'll do is when we get there, I'll do the old palette cam too. But we're not going to need it yet. I think we will need it though. All right, so let me keep this going. So, you know, this painting, I'm hoping that I was going to have it done for there's a big art show in Ashtabula, real prestigious, you know, big show. I don't know when the call for entry is, but I know this painting is going to take me a lot of time now because I'm going to start getting into this stuff, and I haven't even touched the big bill next to it. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. What I do know is I'm not going to rush this painting. This painting is going to be what it's supposed to be, and no matter how long it takes. Because again, I think I mentioned it before. This painting means a lot to me. You know, it's been in the works for too long, and it just hasn't ever popped up to the point where I could finish it. So now I'm going to finish it. All right. So down in here now, this is where I kind of got to look at things as I'm working and then, you know, make those decisions on the fly. Like down in here, as I spray this black in, the Createx, the opaque black has a real brown feel to it. And I need to get it more towards the green. So I'm going to adjust this black right now. And I'll look at comments while I'm doing that. Yeah, look at all those 543 comments. Yay. And thank you to everyone who's already won, who's making comments, because you can only win once per year. So every time you see someone who's already won, like Honey, put a comment up, she's doing that because she's an awesome human being, and it really helps me because I get a ton of cool ideas to do. And if you are, I mean, there's no, like, I will still paint someone else, like Gary, for instance. Gary already won, but I took his suggestion last week and I ran with it. So that's always a case. So, you know, you could still get your painting painted, even if you already won. All right. So I picked Phthalo Green for this, Wicked Phthalo Green. And I just put it on the palette. Actually, I could show you. I just put a little drop on the palette there, and I'm grabbing my paintbrush. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that to this black that's already here. Now the black in here, again, is super, super reduced. So a little color in this is going to go a long way. Like, I just put probably more green in there than there is black. So that's really going to kind of take over that. I know Honey has so many good suggestions. That's great. And the nice thing is if you've been around for a while, you'll also know that there are some times when I go back and even through the old feeds, and I keep every suggestion. Guys, I have spreadsheets on every single suggestion you've made. So I can go back to like January of last year and pull out a bunch of suggestions that I didn't do and do a bunch of paintings from that too. So I did that originally because I didn't know how many suggestions I'd be getting, and I wanted to make sure I had enough to do all the paintings. But you guys have been amazing, so I haven't needed it, but I have it, so that's good. All right, now let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that's much better. Because what's happening is now it's really, really dark, like the black, but it has this green cast to it instead of a brown cast to it. So as I put it in these areas like here, it looks much better. It looks like green and not brown. Because up here, like where I did this, I didn't finish this really. There's lots of little kind of dots in here. Again, the subtle stuff, the little stuff, which is really going to make that work. Around here, it's a little bit tighter. And as I get this in, I kind of kill two birds with one stone. So I can make it darker where I need to, but I'm also adding that green that needs to be in there as well. Plus, what's nice too is when the more colors you add, like if you come up with a green and it's out of the bottle, it's going to look out of the bottle. It's going to look very, fake, basically. Because the colors are really pure. They're designed to be mixed with stuff. So if you use them out of the bottle, it's going to seem, forced, like manufactured. So if you mix your colors a lot, especially on the surface, you can really add to that realism by shaking it up, by adding that depth. So it's a bonus. It's a twofer, really. All right, this top line here, I think I ran it too short, which you guys can't see because it's off the screen. So I'll leave that for a minute. But this shadow under the S can take a little bit of green too. Oh, this is outstanding. This is great. It's a perfect color now. And then there's little subtle extras in here. And the same thing's going on with the T. A little bit darker, a little bit more green. Knock out some of that lime yellow. Now, I don't want to get rid of that lime yellow and that lime green totally. I just want to kind of start knocking it back a little bit. So I don't want it everywhere. I want it just to kind of pop out in certain spots, because what that is the green and then the yellow reflection of the bench that I was talking about earlier. So again, what this does for me here by using the airbrush, it gives me a really kind of a tight, I'm in kind of tight with the detail, but it's not 100% hard edged, which is great. If I did this with a paintbrush, it would seem very stiff. And I'll give you an example of that. I'll slide this up a little bit, which I was planning on doing tonight if we get to it. But if I slide this over a little bit and I turn that off, this section here, which is out of focus because it's angled, but this section here is just paintbrushed. So yeah. Oh, good night, Patricia. Have a great night. You're awesome. Yeah, so see how this is very, very sharp and hard-edged? In order to get that to work, excuse me. Well, let's do a little bit of it since I have it. And I think I can, let me break out the infinity because I think I can use that for this. So I'll switch out to the infinity, but I'll just put the straight black in that. So I have all that nice paintbrush work that's going on there, but it's just too sharp. So let me clear this out real quick. British Speedway bike with I saw it with a Japanese motor. All right, so this is 1 to 10. This should work the same way in this brush. I've found that the infinity, this brush here, I found this brush works very similar to the Micron B. David Naylor as David Naylor has amazing videos. He had a great video on how he smooths out this trigger a little bit with some some silicone hot glue. So I'm going to try that on this because this is a great trigger. It's very, reactive, but because of the pattern on it, I have a really heavy hand. I really push down hard. And when I do that, it ends up hurting more than helping. So I think I might try his trigger trick. All right, so this is just straight black. So if you concentrate on this area here, make sure I'm looking at the right one. I can come in here with the black and let me show this is working first. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. I can come in here on the, let's try it over here real quick. Make sure it's going to do what I need it to do. Yeah, I knew it. Okay, hold on. There we go. All right. So what I can do with the black now is take that hard-edged paintbrush line and just very lightly kind of soften the edges just by kind of running around the outside edge of those paintbrush lines. So what that gives me is the best of both worlds. It gives me that tight control of the paintbrush so I can get those etching lines in the way there should be. But then I can come in with the airbrush just very subtly and go around those paintbrush hard edges and just kind of knock them back a little bit, make them a little less sharp. Now again, for speaking about subtlety, what I've done here by doing that is I've reserved that super sharp edge. I'm saving that. So when I need that sharp edge, I have it. If everything is sharp edged in the whole painting and I need a sharp edge, then I'm out of luck. It's like if you're, in an overexposed room with light. Everything is too bright, and if you had a really bright light, it wouldn't matter because everything's bright. Well, it's the same thing with a painting and the details and things like that. So I will try to move this so you can see it, the difference between the two. How am I going to do this? Kelly. Oh, what's a great idea, Kelly? Hello, Ron. What's up? 15-minute mark. Perfect. I'm going to move this up a little bit. That'll be the way to go. So check out this. Actually, I'll try to get both on the screen. There we go. I can't really do it because you are really close. But you can kind of see the difference between this and this. You know what I mean? And then as you back out, that has even more impact. And again, it's subtle, but it makes a big difference. Yeah, I know. All right, so let's jump back to the green since that's what we started on. Make sure we're focused. All right. And now I have two brushes set up, which is nice for this because I can bounce around. Although one is green and one is black. I don't know if I'll be using the black in this part, but we'll figure it out. All right, now back to this guy. So this little line up here, which you can't see the end of it, is probably not long enough. So I'm going to lengthen that a little bit. But it fades away because of it's so bright. So I'm going to kind of, again, this is a total airbrush thing right here. I could do this with the paintbrush, but nothing fades paint away like an airbrush. So, yeah, so that just makes a big difference. What else we got? I got more details in here that I missed. Again, this is a great moment for the airbrush because those little details curl around the corner and they're difficult to see. So the airbrush kind of blobs them all in, just kind of like tucks them all in. The other thing that's going on too, which is really interesting because of the photograph, and this is where a little bit of photorealism comes in, you do what the camera does and it actually helps. So normally you would think that this edge right here would just kind of end, but by darkening the background a little bit around it, it helps this front, the area thing in the front to pop. I can use this green here because it's really black. But again, this is a super crazy subtle thing because if you're not looking for it, you'll never notice it. But what it does is it really helps that edge kind of pop out a little bit. And again, it's super crazy subtle. Like again, if you're not looking for it, you'd never know it. But it really helps a lot. I haven't said that in so long. Mr. Anderson. What's up? Bug's heading to Connecticut tomorrow. Luckily, my flight's at 9 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. People won't be as judgy. Be having a beer before flying. Yeah, an IPA before and an IPA after. That's what I've learned about traveling from Bug. It's the alcohol that it's medicinal. It saves you from getting sick. And Bug travels a lot, so I will heed his advice. I was doing so good too. Everyone, got sick on the trip. Not sick, but everyone got like some sort of cold. And I didn't. And I'm like, yay, I did it. I got home and I'm like, So unfortunately for the next 2 weeks, since I recorded a couple episodes of Open Studio, the Tokyo painting, you'll hear this kind of voice for the next 2 weeks on that video. But like I said, Doc says it's clearing, so I'm a happy camper. All right, I'm really happy with this. Now, I've got this cool green in the brush. It's working out really well. So now what I do is I'm like, okay, that needed to be done there. So does it need to be done in other places? So we're going to back you guys out again. Because I have a feeling it does. And I'll show you where. As soon as I line up the camera here. Also, since I'm doing this, I said I was going to take that 56 Chevy hood emblem off the website. I forgot to take it off today while I was working. So it is still up there if someone wants one last chance at it before I pull it down and frame it and then make it not on sale anymore. I would love to see one of you guys get it. So it's 4x4. It's really easy to frame. But like I said, if I frame it, it's going to be, hardwood and museum glass, and then it's not going to be discounted. And, like I said, it gives you a chance to get something really cool for not a lot. All right. So the next part I'm going to be looking for that green is up in here. Not because, all right, so with a US, do I have one? I don't have my wallet on me. So for a US dollar bill, the back side is green, the front side is black and white. I think that's why they call them greenbacks. Don't know, but would make sense. So what you're looking at is this part here is the black side. This is the back of the bill, and then so this would be the front of the bill. However, the light is hitting the green side here, and it's causing that green to kind of show up on the black side. Now I've got a little bit of it here, but I want to push that a little bit more. That happens over here too, but it's a little bit different because I believe that this is the back of the bill up here. So it's got a lot of green in it. But that's also got orange in it that's reflecting through, which is also a whole other subtle thing. But you get the idea how weird this gets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this green, but I'm only going to use it really in the black areas and the lower area here. I don't want to do it up here because that's where the orange is kind of coming through. And orange and green don't necessarily play super well together. So I want to just add a little bit of that in here, mostly as texture, and then also to darken and sharpen in this area. Excuse me. And again, this didn't originally have that. This is black in here. So this is a real brownish black. So by adding this green in here, it adds a complexity to that color that will just give it more reality. It will really make it feel more alive. Same answer to the same question from last week with David Fiore. I'm running about 35 pounds of pressure, but with these two brushes, it's difficult to tell because they don't let a lot of air out. So it always sounds like they're running at a really low pressure, but they're not. They're just not putting out a whole ton of air. Again, I'm picking and I'm not going over everything. I'm just picking areas where like this little line, as it kind of curls around, it's when it curls away from you, it's going to be darker than the bit of it that's straight on. So that's what I'm kind of concentrating on, and that again, it adds a feeling of depth to this that builds up. Like little details all add up to what you're looking for. And the more of these that you can nail, the more realistic, or in this case, the more realistic a painting will be. And what we're going for is something that a camera has a difficult time capturing, or even if it captures it, a difficult time reprinting it. You know, I want the resolution on this to be way beyond what can be printed, because I want the original painting to be something different than what, you know, could be done with a photograph, because that's the whole point. You know, you start with those photo tricks, like the edges that I was talking about, but you add more to it to kind of make it, you know, make it so much more. Thank you, Roberto. Yes, please, please, please join the family. Like and subscribe and all that. Actually, I'm going to put some of the green up here. You know, there's a little bit of a extra like shadow in here. And that's going to be perfect for this, because it's going to, like I said, it's going to carry that green feel in the most subtle ways. And we're looking for that. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for beating people over the head with a whisper, you know. This is starting to shore up on me, meaning it's starting to dry out because it's not spraying super well. Now there's another one of those. I already got it on this edge up here. You see how that's just subtly darker than the rest of it? It's almost like an outline. So I already got that one. That's good, although that's too sharp. So I'm going to kind of, you see that? Yeah, right down at the bottom here. I'm going to soften this up a little bit too. Give it a little bit of a shadow in there. All right, finally, I got to loosen this up. I got to thin this out, because the other thing down here, which I'll move it down a little bit so you can see it, there's extra texture on this bill that I don't have yet. Now I got to be real careful here, because what happens is with details, when you have bright light on something, it washes out the detail. You only see the detail in the midtones and then as it gets darker. Now you would think that doesn't make sense. You would think if you put a bright light on something, you'll see all the details. That's because your eyes are adjusting to that bright light so you can see those details. However, in reality, when you have a really dark area like the background or even this section in here against a really bright area that's lit, you can't see everything. You know, something has to give. So that's what I'm doing here. The texture, which you'd normally be able to see if you blocked all that off in real life and focused on it, is getting washed out here. But you can see it in this area here. So I want to get some of that in there too. Again, it's these little super subtle things. If I put the texture in this bright white area here, it'll flatten everything out. It'll just look wrong. Again, it's battling our brains. Our brains know it's there and we want to put it in, but you got to just kind of, you know, do what's there. You know, do what's really you can see. I can't talk tonight. Sorry. That's all I got. Patty, have a great night. You're awesome. Oh yeah, Patty, it's easy. The People's Artist, what's up? What I missed? So what kind of airbrush do you use for detail? And could I use any kind of air compressor? Or does it have to be a specking? For this kind of detail, you need something that has a really small needle and nozzle, something like a 0.2-ish. And both of these, you know, the Infinity CR and the Micron B both have that. So those will allow you to get really, it'll atomize the paint very finely. So that's part of the story. Excuse me. The other part of the story is the paint. When you have a brush with a really small needle and nozzle, generally the paint needs to be thinner to get it to go through. So that's a generalization depending on the color, but that's a general rule to start with. That's the other thing. As far as the compressor goes, I've always been a proponent of bigger and badder. You know, the bigger and heavier duty the compressor, the less problems it's going to give you. And that kind of marching order has served me well my entire airbrushing career. So I have a big silent compressor, and it's been years and years and years of running this thing. And I bought it used. So it's a Silent Air 5015. And it's just it's a great compressor. It's silent. It's literally right underneath my bench. You guys can't hear it. And it's super strong. So what super strong means is it's not running all the time. So it stays really cool, so you don't get any moisture. And that's my long answer to that question. And hopefully that helps. Yeah, the two things I would never cheap out on, or three things I would never cheap out on when doing this, is paint, airbrush, and compressor. I mean, that's everything, right? But if you go cheap on something, just be ready. You certainly can. You know, if your budget's your budget, like mine was, my original compressor was a tiny Pache. You do it, and you use it, and you get through it. But if you have the resources to step it up, you're never going to regret it. All right, so I'm going to do the texture here. So what I've done is I've added a bunch of reducer to this greenish color. Do I want to use the green color? I do not. I would use the black color. Because this part here doesn't have that same green cast to it. It's more brown as it comes across here. So I want to make sure I keep that straight. So same thing, I'm going to add a bunch of reducer to this already crazy reduced paint to make almost like a stain, really. You know, a black stain. I'll jump back here. Oh no, Ian, did you get an advertisement about bowels? I'm so sorry. Okay, because I got an air present from Amazon. I wasn't sure if it'd be okay. What brand of paints do you use, Steve? People's Artists. I use all Createx Wicked colors. They've been working great for me. Yeah, so with that Amazon compressor, you can definitely do that. Just, again, get a really good water filter. Make sure, the trick is with any small compressor or any compressor at all, make sure it's off more than it's on. So if it has an automatic, like an on-off type of thing where it just turns on when you use it, as long as the compressor is running less than it's off, then you're in good shape. If it's running more, like if it's running every time you hit the trigger, and it's running all the time, it's going to get really hot no matter what compressor it is, and it's going to grab all that moist air and shove it in and compress all that moisture, and it's going to come out in your airbrush, which is a bummer. The blue Pache compressors, yeah, I had a little gray one. I had a D compressor, which was a diaphragm compressor, which was really loud, yeah. But again, I did some really great paintings with that little tiny. I still have it. It's here somewhere. I should dig it out to show you. I don't use it obviously anymore because it's more of a relic now. But that goes, like I said. You go with what you feel your budget should be. Absolutely, you know. But yeah, my first. This is still too strong. Believe it or not. What I'm looking for. So I'm going to add a little bit of 40-50 to this now. Because what I've done is I've added a ton of reducer to this. It already had a ton of reducer in it. And you could get to the point by adding too much reducer where you just break the paint. Now you have way too much reducer and not enough paint and it just won't stick, you know? So by adding 40/50 to it, I'm able to thin it out more without kind of totally busting the paint. There we go. And while I'm mixing, I'll see what you guys are talking about. Dan Mayer, what's up, buddy? Showtime. I'm going to leave the painting on here to do showtime, I think. Thank you, honey. You're awesome. And I know Michael McClung has his live feeds usually on the weekends. However, this weekend coming up is Memorial Day weekend, and that ushers in race season. So Michael is taking from what he said, is taking a holiday on Saturday to watch the races, all the races. So make sure you subscribe to him so when he's live you can check him out. As well as all my other friends here like Tim, and if Bill is still here too. All right, let's jump back to this one. I'm going to leave this painting up here, which is a bad idea because I've already scratched it, but say it with me, kids. What the heck could go wrong? All right. First up for tonight, again, if you're new here, welcome. This is how you win one of these paintings. All you do is make me a suggestion. So you make a suggestion. I take the whole list during the week, compile that list. I pick 3 paintings to paint out of that, but everyone who made a suggestion on the list is eligible to win a painting. I then put all those names in a hat. We draw one the following week, and that's it. If you're here, that's great. You do have to be here to make your suggestion, though. You can't make it after the fact. It has to be live. And that's it. But you don't have to be here to win. So if you win, you just got to check my socials the day after to see who won, and then just contact me and you get to grab a painting. All right. So first up is Gary Shees with the AAR CUDA, which is this guy right here. Can I do this? Yes, I can. That's how that one came out. These are 3-inch by 4-inch paintings on Yupo paper, and I try to keep them to about 2 hours. So I do what I can. I try to make them look great, and everyone's happy. If the winner is on tonight, they could choose one of these 3, and if they don't want one of these, they could go pick any one off my site. Just go to the site, stephenleahy.com, and pick your painting. If you are interested in any of these, all the 543s that I paint for the feed are discounted. They're all 50% off all the time. So normally they're 200, but for the website they're at 100. Next one is Double Light by Sean. Sean, you're gonna tell me how to pronounce your last name, buddy. I want to make sure I get it right. But anyway, Sean asked for a lighthouse. I did Double Light because I love this place. This is in Maine. Dwayne Marshall, what's up, man? So that's how that one came out. This one is the time-lapse video. So they all come with certificates of authenticity. And when it's a time-lapse video, I'll mark it down the bottom. Or if it's a 543C, I will also mark it down the bottom like this one. This is all color with the silver orbital shell. And this is Bohr's hydrogen from Brian Moore. And I couldn't sign this one because I have the spectrometry for hydrogen down the bottom. That's its spectral, the spectral lines for hydrogen. So I didn't leave myself enough room to sign it, so I put my little logo up in the corner. So this is a unique 543 for sure. And that's that one. All righty then. Let's go. Did I do that right? I think I even did that right. We are having a day, we are. This is the 10. Oh, let me show you the 10 first before I do this. I like to do that so there's no question. Hold on. Hold on. Seriously? It's like I lost the list. All right, I got it. Yeah, here's your list. So number 1 is the bug, and then here's all these fun people. There are 10 altogether. So again, there are a lot more people that made suggestions, but if you want one already, you're ineligible for the rest of the year. So these are our folks for tonight. And your 1 in 10 chance of winner is number 7. I'm not even going to look. I'm going to look with you guys. Mr. Parsons. Good morning, Steve. Congratulations. Todd, what's up? Yay, welcome, Todd Aria. Sorry, Todd, I have a horrible cold, so basically I just said Todd Aria, which I did not mean to say. Todd Andrea. Uh, so good job, Steve. It is the week of international shipping, I guess, for me. So, Steve, you know what to do. You just need to pick one and send me your address and I will get it out to you. That's awesome. All right. Yay. Yeah, so Steve, if you want one of those three, let me know. And if you want to take your time, you could do that too. There is no, jump to this one. No, I'm not. So that's this one. What are we doing? There is no time limit on your win. I would just ask that, you kind of make a decision. Don't wait like 2 years and then tell me, because even though I keep track, I'd rather kind of button those up and get them out so people are happy. But you don't have to oh my God, you have to make the decision today. You can take your time and just make sure, if it goes more than a couple of weeks, make sure you keep up on that though, because I'll be flying and not know what's going on. So, all right, moving on. This is going great. I'm doing I've added the 40-50, which worked out hopefully well. Yeah, you guys are good. I'm going to lower the exposure on this a little bit, just so you could see the subtlety. It's already got some of that texture going on, but when I lower this, I should be able to see more. There we go. No rush, but hurry up. I know, right? That's kind of what I was saying, Chris. No, seriously, you guys, you guys know how it works. All right, let's see what we got now. You know what I should do? I should do it up here where it's less chance of screwing up. Yeah, that's probably going to work. All right, so these little texture areas are pretty small. They seem to be in a continuous line with the fibers. So I could just kind of make sure. Again, all I'm doing is looking at the reference for this and making sure I'm kind of keeping true to that. The big takeaway from this right now is, like I said, if you want a really, really thin, transparent color, and you're using Createx, the 40-50 is your best friend. You can get some extremely transparent colors by adding 40-50 to it and reducer. And what that does is it gives you control. It's not so I will show you. So again, this is super crazy reduced. It's 1 part Painter, 10 parts reducer, and then a bunch of 40-50. So if I take a piece of white paper here, let me find out where you guys are. You're right here. So if I start this stuff here, it's really thin. I saw that, Steve. What's going on, man? You're awesome. Thank you. Oops, I can't get to it because there's a heart in the way. All right, I'll get to that in a second. If I just start putting this in, this is really subtle, right? But I mean, I can get, again, if I'm trying to get super tight details, this is a great way to go too. And if you watch David Naylor, I mean, you want to know what this brush can do, just go watch, David Naylor do his thing. It's amazing. So this brush will do tiny details, but the point is with the paint, it starts out really light. I have a lot of control over it, but if I keep going over that, because it's 40-50 and it's just transparent paint essentially, I can build this back up to opaque black by putting layer on layer. And the nice thing about that is this paint is so thin that this has no dimension to it. It's not like I sprayed a ton of paint on it and to build it back up, and then this has now dimension because I had to spray a ton of paint. I made 50 layers of paint to get that. There's nothing to it. It's so thin, but yet it builds back to that intense black. So it's a really great way to kind of reel in if you're having a problem getting details. The other side of that is you have to have more patience because you're putting it on layer by layer. There we go. Now I can hit that love button. Thank you so much. Yeah, exactly, Grumpy. Yeah, David, and again, that's what you end up doing. Now, it's not always the case. There are it's a weird spectrum that we live on in the airbrush world. If you have a bigger airbrush, I'm just going to start using this everywhere. If you have a bigger airbrush, like an Eclipse BCS or something, and you have this paint through it, it's going to be a mess. You're not going to get anything out of it other than a total disaster. It's going to just like flood out and blow everything up. You have to match the paint to the airbrush. So again, if you have like, where is it? So if you have, an Eclipse CS like this one, and this is the brush you're using, and you're like, I saw Steve paint all this small stuff, and he used, paint reduced 10 times. I'm going to do the same thing. And you put that in this brush, it's going to make a total mess. You would have way better luck having a much thicker paint. You'd actually get a lot of this like really tight detail with this brush with a thicker paint, So viscosity goes with the opening of the airbrush. So if it's a bigger opening, you need a little bit thicker paint. Even if you want tiny lines, you still need to have that paint thicker. Again, it's been cursing airbrush students forever. Everyone wants a simple formula. Like, how do you mix your paint? What do I got to do to get this to work? And everyone wants it, but there isn't one. Because to compound, like I said, to compound everything, every airbrush is different. So it's not just the paint, it's definitely the airbrush. This paint is working great. I'm going to keep going with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move. Do I have to move you guys? No, I don't. Because what I'm going to do is now you can really see it. So this section right down here has the airbrushing on it. This up here doesn't. See how starkly different they are? So that's what we're looking for. What else did I miss? I was going to say be blowing out all over the place. It's exactly what happens. It makes a mess. And I'm not going to show you. I was going to show you, but I like this mix right now, and I don't want to waste it. I was going to dump it into the Eclipse and then spray the Eclipse to show you, but maybe I will at the end. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Again, this is all subtlety. This is stuff that, like in this little ribbon right here, there's a pattern. So with this color, I can get that little pattern in there, What does that say? There he is. People, good deal to know you could build up layers using transparent color. Yeah, absolutely, people. You can do with candies too. Yeah, you can do. I was gonna say it's a little bit different with candies, and it is, because you never really get an opacity. It just keeps getting darker, which mimics opacity. So if you use like a fully transparent paint like ink, you got to play it a little bit differently, but it's still, it's still close to that. But yeah, almost every paint that is listed as transparent, if it has pigment in it, it's got body to it. Sooner or later, you're gonna reach opacity. The thickness of paint might be crazy when you get there, but yeah, every transparent paint is really semi-opaque. Just like every opaque paint, you can make transparent. Again, you take an opaque paint, like this is opaque black, but I've had so much 40-50 to it that it's running like a transparent. So, it's the one thing I hated the most about airbrushing in the beginning, really, because when I was getting into airbrushing, it was like the late 80s, early 90s. And at that point, airbrushing illustration, which was huge in the 70s and 80s, was on its way out. And it was being replaced by the new custom t-shirt painting and custom paint in automotive, especially mini trucks. So the 70s had their vans, and 80s had mini trucks. And guys like Craig Fraser were rewriting the book on how to airbrush and what to use. And they were all using solvent-based paints. And one of the things I hated the most about what they were doing, ironically, was that if I felt like you needed to be a scientist to paint. I just wanted to put paint in the brush and go. Then I grew up and realized that that's not the reality of physics. So, you learn to kind of deal with it. And especially because I was using water-based paints, were extremely difficult to spray. Um, I just kind of got used to knowing that you had to mess with it a little bit. As long as you embrace it, as long as you're not like young Steve that, was resistant to it, you'll pick it up. Just, I always say, just, limit your palette. Don't have 2,000 colors because they all spray differently and you'll rip your hair out. Pick a short palette, give yourself a red, give yourself a blue, a green, yellow, maybe a brown, but that's it. You know what I mean? Mix all your colors so you get really used to how those colors work, and you'll be much happier in the end. Wait, what's that? What's trendy now? So, Brian, from what I'm seeing in the airbrush world, it's all the 3D printed stuff, all the, the gaming, tabletop gaming stuff is gigantic. Modeling, scale modeling has always been gigantic in airbrushing. It's just been kind of the massive undercurrent big brother of everything. For as long as the airbrush has been around, scale modelers have been using them. So again, hopefully you're cool with what I'm doing, and I'm just taking this black and kind of adjusting all this stuff. So yeah, scale modelers have always used airbrushes, and that immediately translated over to the 3D printed stuff. But that definitely seems to be the big area of growth for airbrushing right now. Again, because this little crazy tool is one of the best ways to put a liquid onto a surface. It's tried and true. It's been around for over 100 years, and it's still the best way to do it. And with current technology and manufacturing, I mean, this Infinity is a great example of that. The manufacturing processes are so much better than they were. It just allows these brushes to do things that are pretty incredible. So again, thankfully for me and everyone else who loves this tool, it's not going anywhere, which is lovely. So I may have a 3D printed project coming up. I definitely have one, but I don't know if I'll be able to kind of put it out there. I'll have to figure out how to do that the right way, because there's some testing involved with some products, so I don't want to do the wrong thing there, but we'll see. All right, so this is a great example of paintbrush or airbrush. I missed the details on this little filigree here and also on the top. I tried to airbrush it, but it's just too soft. It needs a little bit more guts. So that's when we end up doing the thing. This button? Yeah. So I'll put out some black down here. With the palette, the paint, oh, that's too much. That's fine. With the paint, when I put it on the palette, the paint is always 100%. I mean, I'll reduce it. You can't see it, it's off the bottom here, but I have some 4011 reducer in this little cup right here. I'll reduce a little bit to get, different effects, but for the most part, the paint that's on there is 100%. All right, so I'll grab a little bit of this. And now with this, I could kind of do the right thing by this line, these lines that I missed. They need to be a little bit tighter, they need to be a little bit sharper, and the paintbrush, for me, does a better job than the airbrush a lot of times with these really dense, dark, sharp lines, or light, sharp lines, whatever it would be. Again, this top one I missed, so I'm going to kind of get that in there. And what I could also do, too, there's a couple little blowouts in here that I kind of had going on, which happens all the time. So I'll put some white out too, and I will mix a gray here. So the gray, you would think that like, okay, so these lines here that I just went over, down right at the bottom here, can I lift this up a little bit? Maybe? Yeah, I can. So you can see it so I don't have to move the camera. All right, so these lines here that I did right here, if I go and put a white line on those to clean them up, it's going to be a mess. It's just going to bring me right back to where I was. So what I want to do is I kind of want to trick things by using a light gray. And with this light gray, first I'll try it and see what it looks like. This is probably going to be kind of bluish, but it's all going to depend on how much I need to use. If I need to use a lot of it, I'll have to add a little bit of red oxide to it. And what that red oxide does is it gets rid of the blue in it. But we'll see what happens. So a couple areas here that have those little blowouts that didn't need to happen, I could just kind of walk back in here and erase them. There are a couple ways to do this. Like I could try to get the actual eraser in there, but you know, at the end of the day, it's just easier for me to use a paintbrush for it. So here again, you know, anywhere where there's a little blowout, you know, didn't kind of work the right way. With the airbrush, I could just kind of straighten it out. And again, at the end of the day, that doesn't read as gray; it reads as the white of the line, because you're tricking it. You're tricking using your eye's inability to make the change between those two. All right, that looks good too. And that's it. Yeah, that's good. All right. So last thing I want to do tonight with this is, again, this is that whole subtle thing. I got a lot of work to do in here. I got to do all those same things, the black on all that, which I'm not going to take you through that. But I'm going to do something quick to this that that goes with that subtlety thing. So this top area here, and I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do this. There's a very slight fold right here that runs this way across this bill. So it's kind of part of the crumple, but it's super subtle. So in order to get that to happen, all I'm going to do is kind of go over this whole area really lightly with the black. And this is where kind of the patience comes in, because I don't want to just hit this thing. You know, I don't want to come up with a gray and then just hit it. This is a transparent color, and I'm using this to kind of lay in that subtle shift in the gray color, in that shadow. So what I do is I put a quick layer on it, and then I back up and look at it. So hopefully you can see that this area right here is different than this one now, and it runs up into this little branch here. And that's all it really needs. It gives it that subtle feeling like this section is going along this way, and then it takes the slightest turn and it goes down. Again, if I didn't have that, would the painting be okay? Yeah, but adding that little fold in that bill will give this thing overall, all those little details pile up like gumballs in a gumball machine. And they are just like, they blow you away in the end. And that's the sell point of this. So I'm going to switch you out to this to kind of show you where we're at total. And I'm going to turn this to you so you can see it a little bit better, because you have a pretty evil glare because of the lights here. But that's where we're at. So especially kind of keep track of like this corner right here right now. See how bright and sharp that is? And up here is where we were working. This is much more subtle now, and I know you can't really pick that up because of the glare, but that little edge right there that we added really lets that little roll pop out. Where if it wasn't there, it'd be fine, but that adds that. And the same thing, the last bit is this little fold right here. So that gives you that kind of curl over right there. And that, in a painting like this that has a very short depth of field, you basically have two little bills crumpled up on a desk. So there's not a lot of depth here. That stuff becomes its entire own landscape. You know what I mean? So that's where all the depth of this painting comes from, in a field that's really only, a few inches deep. So that's what I got. All right, let me move some stuff so I don't damage anything. My nose. Ay. There we go. Oh, thank you for answering the question. Yes. So favorite paintbrushes, you guys got it. Riamon, it is a Winsor & Newton Series 7. Hold on. I dropped one on the floor. Fortunately, I have more of them. No, I need the other. I need the one I dropped on the floor because it has the label on it. There we go. All right, hold on. This is the brush right here. Of course, there's no light on it now because it's too dark. So let me do you a solid here. Lighten this up. No, wrong way. Ah, there we go. Let there be light. So my brush of choice is a Winsor & Newton Series 7 watercolor brush. I love the 00 for all the really tight detail, but I have a bunch of them. So I'll go all the way up to, usually size 1 is the biggest one I'll pull out of the rack. So that's the number 1. And compared to the 00, you can see the difference. So these are both red sable brushes. These brushes do pretty much everything I needed to do. That one's in tough shape, but you get the idea. All right, so that's that. Now I gotta move the cameras around again. No, I don't. I'm just gonna do this. So that's what I got. So I'm gonna have fun going back through all the comments. This was kind of a, crazy feed that I couldn't really see the comments for the first half, but I will definitely go through them and say hi to everyone. And I'm definitely going to get all your 543 suggestions. You have a few seconds here at the end to throw suggestions in. If you would like to win a painting, all you got to do is type 543 and they give you a suggestion for one of the black and white ones. It's really easy. And if you missed it this week, if you're watching this after the fact, come join us on Mondays and win a painting. My schedule is the same. Everything's going just as planned. So tomorrow is Time-Lapse Tuesday. You can watch that double painting. And then Wednesday, we are back on the Tokyo painting. I'm having a good time with that. We are almost halfway through with that. It's been a huge tractor pull, but it's going to be worth it. And if you've been following, you guys have been in from the very moment I started that painting, which is a lot of fun. And that's what I got. So from the bottom of my heart, you guys rock. I love that you guys are here. Please smash that button on the way out. That would help the algorithm monsters feed themselves. And that's what I got. So, oh, let me check. Steve, did you pick a painting? I should have checked. I would assume you didn't, Steve, but if you did, let me know in the last couple minutes. And if not, I'm going to put all 3 of those paintings up on the website. It's at stephenleahy.com. And you can grab one of those for your very self. So that's what I got. So good night, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Hopefully I'll see you again during the week. Take care. Be good to one another. And until next week, I will catch you guys again. Have a good one.